throws a credit report over with $70,000 worth of credit card debt on it. I look at it. He goes, well, what do you do? Like, how do you fix that? I look at it. I just go, well, you can settle the debt. And I threw it back to him. He grabs it and he throws it back at me. He goes, good, go do it and charge a fee. So I did.
Got a crazy video for you today.
She's not yours, it's just your turn. A woman should be a complement to your life, not the focus.
Do the work.
Women do not care about your struggles. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winners. All right, what's up, my brothers from another mother? This is a video that was highly requested on the community tab of the YouTube channel. Guy basically wanted me to go through how I got into the financial services business that I created, which was a debt relief business. I started that in 2003. At its peak, it was doing about $290,000 a month in annual sales. So that was roughly about $3.5 million a year in total sales receipts. And we had close to 25 staff. So this is the origin story of my financial services debt relief business, which has been running now for almost 20 years. I didn't start my entrepreneurial journey until I was about 30-ish, I think maybe 32, 33. Let's get a move on. By the way, guys, if you don't know who I am, Rich Cooper, smash the subscription button and the notification bell. We're in my 2011 R8 V10 right now. I figured I need to take it out and burn off some of that winter gas. All right, let's get right into it. Hopefully this car is not too loud for you. I'm sure the sound of that glorious V10 won't hurt your ears too badly. Anyway, so got into the business and it just kind of happened by accident because a bunch of things fell in line together at the same place and the same time. Around 2002, 2003, I was working for one of the largest credit and collection industry businesses in North America. In fact, it used to be known as Equifax, and the business was sold off to, I think it was an Indian/American company. And there were some changes that happened around that time, but I was the branch manager for mostly bank, sundry services, some car loan products. I got involved in student loans, basically a lot of unsecured type of debt. And I had been in the business for about 10 years. So I worked my way up the corporate ladder, started out in like the early 90s as a bill collector. They were paying me not a lot of money. And I think I finished around close to 6 figures by my late 20s. I think I was about 30 or so. So there was president, there was probably about 3 regional vice presidents and maybe about 15 to 20 branch managers. I was one of the branch managers. I think I was responsible for close to $300,000 or $400,000 a month in receivables at that time, if I'm not mistaken. So what I learned then was you get hired because of your resume, but you get fired because you fit. So I ended up in constant conflicts with my VP at the time. He's a real dick to me. And I knew that they were giving out packages that year, only he was just being so rough and abrasive to me, and I don't take crap from anybody. I was the guy that got the package because it fit, so I went home. To be honest with you, they didn't give me enough money, but I took it just because I wanted to get the hell out of there. I wasn't happy anyway. And I just bought my first house, which was not a good scene because I needed to pay the mortgage. Fortunately, I had roommates that moved in almost immediately after I got packaged off, so they covered the mortgage. So I could have been in that position for quite a while and been quite fine. So what ended up happening was one of those kind of like perfect moments where everything kind of lines up, like the moons of Endor perfectly lined up. I was at my accountant's office. This was within about 2 months of me getting packaged off, and I was tired of feeling sorry for myself. I was looking for something else to do. I wasn't going on any more interviews because I knew that I didn't want to work for somebody. And one of my friends at the time was talking to me about starting up this business that would help people get out of debt, because that was my wheelhouse, that was my level of expertise. Only his model kind of sucked. It was more about like a DIY plan that was going to be sold for like less than $70, and here's a guide, you kind of do it yourself. So I'm doing my taxes with my accountant, and my accountant says, hey man, you're in the credit collection industry, I'm trying to get in mortgages. I got this deal, nice R8. I got this deal that I'm trying to close off where I need like $70,000, but the guy's only got enough equity to pay off, to unlock 50 out of his house to pay off the credit card debt. So he throws a credit report over with $70,000 worth of credit card debt on it. I look at it. He goes, well, what do you do? Like, how do you fix that? I look at it. I just go, well, you can settle the debt. And I threw it back to him. He grabs it and he throws it back at me. He goes, good, go do it and charge a fee. So I did. Made the first check within 3 days. I remember it was a few $100. It didn't take me a lot of work. The total amount that I made on that deal over a couple weeks was close to $4,000 or $5,000. And I'm like, all right, well, this is pretty much what I was getting paid for a month's work, and I made that in a week all by myself with not a lot of work, I can turn this into a business, right? So that's where the light went off. There was no licensing requirement to haggle between creditor and debtor. That's really all that it was. I wasn't performing bankruptcy services. I wasn't doing credit counseling. All I was doing was striking up a deal between the person that owed the money and the person that the company that the money was owed to. So usually the banks, credit card companies, collection agencies, and stuff like that. I had the know-how. I had experience. I knew how to talk to. I knew how to talk to them. I knew how to haggle out the deal and secure it in writing so it'd be binding on both sides. Again, keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer. I don't, I'm not charging legal fees. I don't have any kind of special license to do any of this. I just knew that it was something that was needed. There was definitely demand for it. I could make some good money at it, and nobody else was doing it. So it was a great opportunity for me to get in at that time. So I did, and I basically ran it that way for about a year myself. Brought on my first staff member about 12 months into it. The first partner that I had blew up enormously. It was a bad scene. I partnered up with the wrong guy for the wrong reasons. He basically kept his day job. I did all the work, and he took half the money out of the bank account every single month. So that was a joke. So we had a blow up. He didn't want to come to the table and work on it, so we parted our ways. And I remember he said something to the effect of, you'll never be able to do this without me. And that was all the motivation that I needed to go out all on my own. So I went out on my own, hired my first staff member almost immediately. She was my best friend's girlfriend at the time, I think, and she basically did all the back end administrative work for me. I did all the selling, I did all the marketing. Basically, where we got our clients from was one of the questions this guy asked me, and we got our clients from the mortgage industry. So knowing that this guy that was doing the mortgages couldn't close the deal and he had a problem, I just okay, let's go around and find out who else has this problem. And I contacted them and built relationships, and I paid a referral fee, like a referral commission, based on the deal, the size of the deal, and how much money I made off it. So the mortgage agent not only got paid on the mortgage, but they also got paid from me to refer their customer over to me to settle the debt. And it worked out for everybody. The mortgage agent got paid, the consumer got out of debt, they borrowed the money against their house at a much lower interest rate, they paid back about half of what they owed. So even all in with paying my fees and the mortgage fees and what they had to pay in settlement and everything, it was like a big savings to them all day long. Huge benefit. So nobody else is really doing this. So I ramped this up, hire one or two more people. I think I brought my brother on at that time, who's now running the business. He basically took it over for me about 5 years ago. And this is about 2005 or 6. Now we're still doing the one-off, get the deals from the mortgage agents. I'm traveling around, I'm driving to Ottawa, I'm flying to Manitoba. I've got all of these mortgage referral sources coming to me on a regular basis. But here's what started to happen. It happened twice, actually. The second time I lost my mind. Basically, I was not getting paid from time to time. And by the time it happened the second time, I'm like, this is not sustainable, because I had done work for about 4 or 5 weeks. I remember this second time was about $13,000 in fees, and I didn't get the 13 grand, and I was livid. This guy ripped me off for $13,000. He was a total POS. And I was ready to do things that would have put me in jail. So I knew that was not sustainable. I didn't want to go to jail. I didn't want to do anything stupid. We needed to make sure we were going to get paid. And the other opportunity that I saw there as well is there's a lot of people that had credit card debt that weren't homeowners, or they might have been homeowners, but homeowners with no equity that they could have borrowed against the house to pay off debt. So what did I do? I looked for a way to create monthly revenue by breaking the settlement process over a period of about 36 months. Now this is around 2006 or 7. I'm just starting to use Google AdWords. I was acquiring customers for nothing, like $2 or $3 cost per acquisition. Today it's like $40, $50, $70 in some case if you want to buy leads from one of these lead vendors. I still generate my own leads. That's about the only thing that I really do for the business. But I was acquiring customers for a very cheap rate. I was also able to secure software from a US company in Florida. I found out looking around, because one of the things you have to do when you're in business, you got to solve some serious problems. And I'm like, okay, how do I manage settling the debt over a longer period of time for people that don't have access to a lump sum to borrow against their house? Okay, I found a plan, and it existed in the States. Similar model, R&D, rip off and duplicate. It doesn't stand for research and development, it stands for rip off and duplicate. So that's what I did. Found a model in the US, applied it to Canada. We had to pay to do some coding to customize the software to work in Canada, but it worked very, very well. And from 2006 to 2010, we had hyper growth. We were recognized in Canada as one of Canada's fastest growing companies, I think 3 times in a row on the Profit 50, Profit 100, and Profit 200 lists. We got, I think, awards for one of the best workplaces to work in the world. I think the award was World Blue or something like that. Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year nomination. There's a lot of great things that happened for me between 2006 and 2010. 2010 we peaked. I had about 25 staff, just under 25 staff or so, and we were doing just under $300,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue. Subscription revenue is the way to, look at the size of this house. That is a McMansion. Subscription revenue is the way to go. You're not eating what you're killing. Lion has to go out and hunt, gets a zebra, kills it, they eat for the day, and then, you know, after about 3 or 4 days, maybe again they're starving, I don't know what their cycle is, but they have to go out and hunt again and they eat what they kill. You want to build a business, or I did anyway at the time, that was going to generate subscription revenue. Basically, money would come to me every single month. I knew that I would open the doors and I would turn on the lights and you'd have $300,000 coming in, okay? So that was the goal, and I did that, and it was highly successful. Now, between 2010 and 2015, because there was a low barrier to entry, because there was no license required, and also because the Canadian dollar was at par with the US dollar, a bunch of bad stuff happened, which would take me an hour to explain. But basically, US competitors came into Canada, and a bunch of idiots that didn't know what they were doing also started up, and they ruined the industry and gave it a bad name. We were the largest company at the time. We were highly profitable. We saved people tons of money. I think to date, by that time, we had written off well over $100 million in unsecured credit card debt, which was huge. We had the biggest market share, but all of these clowns came in, they trashed it, they started running ads that were over-promising, and they were under-delivering on the back end, they were screwing people over, they got all kinds of complaints with the Better Business Bureau, and then things changed completely. I ended up pivoting and getting out of the business by about 2015. That's when I basically started doing the YouTube stuff. I've got many sources of passive income by that time. So that's basically the origin story. There was no licensing required. I did hire a mentor around 2009 and 10 for about a year. I was paying him about $3,000 a month for about an hour or two long call. I think it was about an hour long call. I mean, it's part of the reason when I coach, I only coach on the high end. I don't do bottom end stuff, because the conversations and the impact that I have is quite huge based on my experiences. But mentors do have an impact. If you have the financial resources and you're stuck on something big, go look for somebody that's done it, hire them, and then just basically rip off and duplicate it and plug it into your company. So I covered the origin, where I source business from, licensing. Yeah, you have to have insurance. That wasn't that expensive. There's a lot of problems that came up. Software, lead procurement, lead management stuff, employee issues. There's a lot. Like, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about this sort of stuff. I spent well over, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000, I don't know, a lot of hours on this business. I am an expert at it. I know it like the back of my hand. I was world class in Canada at that business anyway. I've got some friends in the States that still run a similar kind of business that didn't get the hit that we did in Canada from the regulators and the legislators. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I learned before I wrapped up is that banks and credit card companies are extremely powerful. Listen to this bad boy. Oh yeah. Banks and credit card companies are extremely powerful. So if you're a David in a sea of Goliaths, I'm not even talking a Goliath, but if you're a David up against many, many Goliaths, you're going to lose that at some point. I ran out of the energy and the want to keep fighting that, and I basically built it into a position where my brother took it over. He was far better positioned to run it anyway, because the way that we had to restructure, he had the licenses that would allow him to carry on. So I basically consult for that particular business now. I help with some of the marketing, but he runs the show now. The staff count went down. It's a more manageable level. It's at a more profitable level overall, usually, depending on market conditions. Right now with COVID, I think there's a lot of people that are going to need to get some help with credit card debt. So it's not a particularly great industry for guys to get into if they're looking for something to do. Customer is very difficult. The creditors are very difficult. We managed to carve out a very, very special niche that works. Not huge, but we have good monthly billables, and it's a decent business. It has a book of business. It is potentially sellable. I've had offers to buy it over the years, and it's one of those things where it looks like the goose that lays the golden egg. Every month, it shits out an egg, it's golden, you do it again, it works. It's kind of one of those things that you don't want to get rid of. Like if you have good real estate with good tenants, you kind of don't want to mess that up, right? It may not be making you billions of dollars a month, but you're not living in a poorhouse, and you have a good solid asset that works for you. So that's kind of the origin story. I mean, I could go into this for hours and hours and hours and tell you guys everything, but I think this guy's question came from more of a holistic view from 20,000 feet. Tell us what you did. That's basically it. I also want to thank Paul because he basically sponsored this video. He sent me a request. Pinned in the top comment, you guys can request topics if you want. It costs $50. So you just basically send me an email with what you want me to talk about and I'll do it. But he just basically donated the $50 and say, here, just want to thank you for what you do. Take on somebody else's request. This is just a donation. So thanks, Paul, for that. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments below. Specifically, if you have any video topics around financial services, financial management, debt management, credit facilities, I mean, this is all stuff like I know like the back of my hand. To say that it, like I know it is an understatement. I ran it since the early 90s and I'm still heavily involved in it to some degree today. So if you have questions about that, let me know. I can do a video on that topic. Also, if you want to sponsor a topic on something totally different, again, that's pinned below. Check out my men's community. This is a group of like-minded men, call them the 1%, that are doing deep work on themselves to become the best version of themselves. So if you're interested in networking with guys that are like-minded, that's there. Also pinned in the top description. Amazon bookstore, recommended books. I don't know, that's pretty much everything that I need to promote or punch in this one. Check it out. Hope that helps. Smash the like button. Guys, please subscribe. And if there's somebody that needs to see this video, hey, share it with them. At the end of the day, gentlemen, starting a business is not easy. It is quite hard, but the reward is very, very high if you do a good job at it. Unfortunately, most people do not do a good job at it, and it just doesn't work out. So you have to be very, very lucky and careful, almost all at the same time, while you're properly prepared to do well at it. So there you go, folks. Have yourselves an awesome day. Hope that offers some clarity. Oh, also, if you wanted to learn more about that business, pinned in the FAQ in the description of all my videos. A lot of people say, well, what do you do for a living? Take a look at the FAQ. It's in there. I did a tour of my office space, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago. So go check that out. See you guys in the next video. Peace.